What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we'll peek over here at the Bitcoin price chart. We're going to talk a bit about the altcoin market. The market is still just sitting here, altcoins in their capitulative phase. Bitcoin sitting at the bottom of the fractal that's been following for several months, dating all the way back till September. We can look at ourselves here on the short-term time frame to see what Bitcoin's still been doing. It's still just been hovering in this range right in here. And well, if it continues to do what it's been doing for several months, it's that, well, we revisit the lows again, and that will occur sometime in late January, early February, if time does continue to follow this thing, which, as we can see, time has been incredibly interesting with the whole thing. So one of the things that's been really interesting about the entire move down is if we go back and we talk about what happened back in here in May, right? When this whole thing happened, we were bombarded with negative news, right? You had Tether FUD, you have Elon Musk, you had China banning Bitcoin mining. It was absolute destruction in regards to narratives. What has happened in here? There's been literally no narrative. It's been massively perplexing to a lot of people on how the price of Bitcoin could continue to fall like this with there being absolutely no narrative, right? It's really just been technical structures that have caused that to occur, which was my argument for a 50% fall back here on Bitcoin last time too, is that the narratives came at just the right time. But what we've noticed in here is there's been no narrative for the price to fall. And now we've just been sitting down here at the lows, and if you notice, there's a lot of action going on there in the stock market. You got TV personalities screaming the sky is falling. But over the course of the last 24 hours, a interesting new narrative has arrived for the cryptocurrency market. And I think it's pretty interesting. I think we need to talk about it because it's presenting a pretty negative light. And well, the question is it real or does a bluff need to be called on it? Yesterday, Eleanor Terrett from Fox Business News said new via Barron's Online. The Biden administration is planning executive action to regulate cryptocurrencies as a matter of national security. An order is expected to come in the next few weeks. She then went on to state, going to do some digging into what this could mean for the SEC and Ripple lawsuits. Stay tuned. And then changing next few weeks to next week as per a source. So that the original statement said that an order is expected to come in the next few weeks. And she's saying, nope, next week. John Deaton, whose opinion I do respect, stated, I hope to be proven wrong. I believe this executive order is bad news temporarily. They will attempt to seriously damage stablecoins because they threaten the banks and the bond market. Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren have too much influence. I believe they will call most alts securities. And then he stated, has anyone noticed how Jim Cramer, after meeting with Gary Gensler, started warning everyone to be careful because Dogecoin and most all other cryptos are securities? Cramer never warned anyone about unregistered securities until the day after interviewing Gensler. So, over the course of the last 24 hours, something is starting to emerge. A story where the President of the United States is going to issue an executive order pertaining to cryptocurrencies in regards to national security. And the worry out there is that they're going to label everything a security. Now, one of the things we talk about on this channel a lot is that positive news narratives come at tops, negative news narratives come at bottoms. The big question is right now, this thing has come out in the last 24 hours, is it real? Is it really going to happen? Is it really going to impact crypto? These are the types of things that I have to, do my own research on and figure out, is there anything to this? Is there any meat on the bone to this? Well, the first thing I do is I go check Barron's Online, which is being quoted here by Eleanor Terrett, and I say, okay, well, they have 213,000 followers. That's okay. Places like Cointelegraph have 1.5 million followers, and CoinDesk has 2.6 million followers. So, not really up there with even what crypto news places have. CNBC sitting up there with 4.4 million. Fox Business has 807,000. Yahoo Finance has 1.2 million. So, 213,000. That's okay. It's less than what I have. But the thing that I do is, I go down and I check and see, how many likes does their stuff have? How much engagement do they have on here? And do they really have 213,000 people following them? And I see that their pinned tweet at the top for their 213,000 followers has 23 likes on here. Their tweet from 32 minutes ago has 2 likes. From 52 minutes ago has 1 like. An hour ago, 5 likes. An hour ago, 1 like. An hour ago, 3. 2 hours ago, 3. That doesn't show incredible engagement for me when it comes to looking at this source. So I went to their website. I've never heard of them before. Maybe they're popular. Maybe people know of them. I've never heard of them before, and I decided to read. What are they saying? White House wants crypto rules as a matter of national security. The Biden administration is preparing to release an executive action that will task federal agencies with regulating digital assets such as Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as a matter of national security, a person familiar with the White House's plan tells Barron's. The National Security Memorandum, expected to come in the next few weeks, would task parts of the government with analyzing digital assets and assembling a regulatory framework that covers cryptos, stablecoins, and NFTs or non fungible tokens, this person said. This is designed to look holistically at digital assets and develop a set of policies that give coherency to what the government is trying to do in this space. The State Department, Treasury Department, National Economic Council, and Council of Economic Advisors would be involved in the initiative. The White House National Security Council would also be involved, the person said, since crypto has economic implications for national security. Along those lines, the administration would instruct agencies to work on harmonizing regulations of digital assets between countries. Because digital assets don't stay in one country, it's necessary to work with other countries on synchronization, the person said. The White House wouldn't issue recommendations. Agencies would be given 3 to 6 months to come up with proposals, and the White House would act as a policy coordinator. White House officials declined to comment. Bloomberg earlier this month reported the White House's plan. The White House aims to bring order to the haphazard approach that the government is now using to regulate crypto, the person said. Various agencies oversee the industry, including the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, but there's no consensus on matters such as whether some tokens should be registered as securities or how to oversee exchanges, stablecoins, and high-yield lending products. Congress has had multiple hearings on cryptos in recent months, exposing partisan divides between Republicans and Democrats on how to regulate the industry. The Biden administration is also urging Congress to draft rules. The White House released a report on stablecoins in November, recommending that Congress act promptly to regulate the industry. The Federal Reserve has also weighed in on digital currencies. The Fed released a report on central bank digital currencies, or CBDC, earlier in January that laid out the pros and cons of digitizing the dollar. The report said that the Fed could start work on the project with support from the White House and Congress, and Treasury Department spokesman called the report an important step forward in discussions about a CBDC. Other countries are ramping up scrutiny of crypto, seeing it as a matter of national economic security. Russia's central bank and finance ministry said this week that Bitcoin mining and trading activity should be more tightly regulated. Russian President Vladimir Putin called on regulators to form a unanimous opinion on regulating the space Wednesday. So let's just kind of dissect what we've read in here. First of all, it's coming from somewhere I've never heard of. I also see they get very little to no engagement on their Twitter page. The source that they're discussing is a person familiar. This person said, the person said, the person said, and White House officials declined to comment. So, we have breaking news that the Biden administration is planning executive action to regulate cryptocurrencies as a matter of national security. An order is expected to come in the next few weeks, corrected next few weeks to next week, as per source. The source appears to be Barron's. I personally have never heard of Barron's before, and the information they're getting from is from someone anonymous. And if we go check any of the news sources over here on Google, search for White House Executive Order Crypto, none of the major places are talking about it. You don't have Forbes, Yahoo Finance, CNBC, Bloomberg, any of them talking about what Barron's has gotten from this secret source. But we can't ignore everything they said. They did mention in here Bloomberg earlier this month reported on the White House's plan. Let's go check that out. And on Bloomberg on January 21st, so 7 days ago, White House is set to put itself at center of U.S. crypto policy. Biden administration said to aim for February executive order. Directive would call for reports from federal agencies. So I just read you a whole article. That's not what I typically do on this YouTube channel. I don't want to bore people to death, so I'm going to try to show you the important things in here. But the Biden administration is preparing to release an initial government-wide strategy for digital assets as soon as next month and task federal agencies with assessing the risks and opportunities that they pose, according to people familiar with the matter. So, once again, according to people familiar with the matter, we have no names of anybody again, but what do we see that is in the executive action? administration is preparing to release an initial government-wide strategy for digital assets next month and task federal agencies with assessing the risks and opportunities that they pose. So that this executive order would task federal agencies with assessing the risks and opportunities that cryptocurrencies pose. Once again, the White House has declined to comment. The late stage draft of the executive order details economic, regulatory, and national security challenges posed by cryptocurrencies, said the people who asked not to be named, discussing internal deliberations. It would call for reports from various agencies due in the second half of 2022. One such study would come from the Financial Stability Oversight Council, a group that includes the heads of Washington's top financial watchdogs, looking at the possible systemic impacts of digital assets. Another government report would look at illicit uses of the virtual coins. Meanwhile, the directive would also require other agencies to weigh in, carving out roles for everyone from the State Department to the Commerce Department. Some of those tasks will be meant to ensure that the U.S. remains competitive as the world increasingly adopts digital assets. The administration is also expected to weigh in on the possibility of the U.S. issuing a government-backed coin known as a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, the people familiar with the talks said. But according to one of the people, the administration is likely to hold off on taking a firm position as the Federal Reserve is still considering the issue. On Thursday, the Fed released a preliminary paper on the matter and opened a public comment period through May 20th. So, John, you said, I hope to be proven wrong. I believe this executive order is bad news, temporarily. They will attempt to seriously damage stablecoins because they threaten the banks and the bond market. Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren have too much influence. I believe they will call most alt securities. So I'm going to try to do my best to say I just don't think that's what's happening here. I could be wrong, and I love John Deaton. I get along with him. I talk with him. We've done live streams or I've chatted with him before. While we don't communicate with each other often, we're very friendly with each other. But I'm going to make an argument that that's not what the executive order is going to be. And maybe John's going to come out and say, Blockchain Backer, you're very wrong. But I don't think so. Not from what I'm reading. Based on what I'm seeing all throughout here from these anonymous sources, the late stage draft of the executive order details economic, regulatory, and national security challenges posed by cryptocurrencies, said the people who asked not to be named, discussing internal deliberations, and the executive order would call for reports from various agencies due in the second half of 2022. And while Barron's reports this as the order is expected to come in the next few weeks, a person familiar with the plan tells Barron's White House wants crypto rules as a matter of national security, it almost feels clickbaity to me. Because even the article that they quote over here says the late stage draft of the executive order details economic, regulatory, and national security challenges posed by cryptocurrencies. And it feels like this just directly said, no, we just want to do the national security part of it. But that even the original report that they're quoting in here sounds like we're trying to get regulatory clarity here in the United States. The late stage draft of the executive order details economic, regulatory, and national security challenges posed by cryptocurrencies, said the people who asked not to be named, discussing internal deliberations, and it will call for reports from various agencies due in the second half of 2022. So when we do it like this, it's very scary. But when we see this right here, we could see they just chose to pick this one right here. But it sounds like, and so the reason I say this is because that's a very fear-driven headline. White House wants rules as a matter of national security. Executive orders coming out next week. And it's from a source I've never heard of, with an anonymous source that they're referencing with literally the next to no engagement over here on their Twitter page. So I don't know. Like, I started this thing and I said, hey, do we have to take it serious or do we have to call a bluff, right? Everybody's got to do their own research and make their own decision on whether or not to call the bluff. But to me, what it sounds like is that there is an executive order that is coming sometime in February. Well, February 1st does happen to be next week, but it sounds like the United States is getting their ducks more in a row to start tackling crypto and regulating it and figuring out which agency should be in charge. Because right now, the United States is like the absolute worst when it comes to regulating crypto. Who's in charge? Nobody knows who's in charge. And it sounds like we're getting potentially into the phase where we're going to start kind of figuring all of that out. Now, let me also say something. I'm not political. I don't ever bring politics into this channel. I don't choose one side. I don't choose the other side. I don't like either side. And the reason I have to say that is because I don't want anybody viewing this to think that, oh, he must be a liberal. Oh, he must be, a right-wing conservative. It's not true. I'm neither one of them. I don't like either side. So there, I just took a stab at everybody right there. I don't like whatever side you're on. If you treat it like a sports team and it's this has to be your side. Well, guess what? I'm not on your side. But the good thing is I'm also not on the other guy's side. So the enemy of your enemy can be your friend, right? So we are going to talk about some politics here moving forward right now, and why I just couldn't imagine the Democrats crushing cryptocurrencies this year. And let me say this, I agree with everything John has said in here, except for this one right here. If he's talking about this executive order that's coming out, I don't think everything is going to get called a security, or altcoins are going to get called a security with this executive order, because based on what we're seeing everywhere, the executive order is going to dish out certain tasks to different agencies to have reports come in the second half of 2022. So I'm not seeing anything indicating that some executive order is going to happen right now that's going to cause things to become securities, or that power is going to be handed over to certain agencies with this executive order, but that the executive order is going to call for reports to come from the agencies later on in 2022. So could something happen later in 2022? Yes, but I don't think that this executive order, based on the two articles that we just read right now, indicate that anything would be called a security. John, correct me if I'm wrong. I love you, man. I'm just trying to do what you said. I hope to be proven wrong. I'm doing my best. But I agree with these things in here based on what we've seen happening with the Securities and Exchange Commission, what we've seen happen with Elizabeth Warren, what we've seen with Gary Gensler, is that banks are not liking the idea of DeFi. There seems to be no like of, any type of stable coin. And I think John is right about, the seriously damaging stable coins because they threaten the banks and the bond market. I think that is true. Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren have too much influence. It certainly appears like that. Elizabeth Warren seems to be an actor in this space. Everything she's doing is scripted. If you love Elizabeth Warren, I'm sorry, but in crypto, she's an enemy of crypto. She's running with scripts. It's blatantly obvious. She has a team of people that whatever she's doing, they're working together to try to damage. Whether that's part of the big script of the big act and where this is all going, I don't know, but it's very, very obvious Elizabeth Warren is an actor. And eventually it does appear that all of this will end with this executive order and all this stuff whenever it all plays out over the course of time, which I don't think it's going to happen next week when the executive order is made. Based on those two articles we read, it says that they're going to be issuing out tasks for reports to be due later in 2022. That appears to be what the executive order is going to be based on the anonymous sources that do not want to be named, but eventually it'll lead to, certain departments of the United States government being in charge of regulating specific things. But there's a reason why I just don't think that they're going to crush crypto this year. And that's because this is a midterm election year. And right now, the Democrats are in a very serious problem right now in regards to popularity and approval ratings heading into this midterm election. It is looking like an absolute sweep is going to happen in the midterm elections if things stay the way they are right now. There's massive disapproval of how the President of the United States is handling everything from the economy to inflation to C-19, all this stuff. The Speaker of the House, a Democrat, Nancy Pelosi, stock trading, doing incredibly well with insider information. Disapproval is obviously going in the wrong direction here for the president right now heading into the midterm election, and his approval is going in the wrong direction right in here. And when we go check Vegas odds to see what are the odds of the Democrats doing well in the midterm elections or the Republicans doing well right now, the odds are massively in the favor of the Republicans right now to sweep both the House and the Senate. So right now, the Democrats own the presidency, they own the House of Representatives, they own the Senate right now. But as these midterm elections come up, they are super, super far behind right now. They're looking like they're going to get completely swept in the midterm elections and lose the House and the Senate, which if you're not familiar with, U.S. politics, if you want to get your agenda passed and approved, it helps to have your team as the majority in the House and as a majority in the Senate and to own the presidency, because you have to get all three branches of the government to sign off on laws that you want to go into effect, earn approvals for budgets. But whenever you have two parties such as Republicans owning the House and the Senate. And if you have the Democrats owning the presidency, well, they're not all going to agree on everything. And you kind of get in a deadlock situation where nobody will pass anything. So, right now, the situation that the Democrats are in is that they own all three branches of government right now. But heading into 2022 midterm elections, they're looking like they're going to get crushed in the midterm elections. And when we look at this article over here on Yahoo Finance, you can see in 2022, 98% of crypto holders are going to double down on digital assets. Now, whether or not that data is accurate or not, we get the general idea of things that are going on in here. With more people entering the crypto market, it becomes apparent there is a strong demand for digital assets like Bitcoin. As we head into 2022, it's important to gauge the investors' confidence in cryptocurrency to get an idea where the market could end up by year end. According to a recent survey by Voyager, over 64% of the surveyed Americans have faith in cryptocurrency to gain higher value this year. The Crypto Confidence Survey was conducted in order to understand American sentiment towards crypto. 48% of all surveyed Americans are of the opinion that cryptocurrencies are going to be widely accepted everywhere before 2025. If we Google search what percentage of Americans own cryptocurrency, we get a varied amount here, been ranging anywhere from about 13% to 20%. So 16%, 13%, 48%. I don't buy that, maybe, but I don't buy it. 14%. But in the end, 48% of all surveyed Americans are of the opinion that cryptocurrencies are going to be widely accepted everywhere before 2025. And so, with an executive order coming out in the next couple of weeks or next week or whenever it is, White House wants crypto rules as a matter of national security and the fear that they're going to come out and crush the cryptocurrency market, while Republicans have already taken the stance that they are pro cryptocurrency. We all saw that with Ted Cruz and all those guys. Whether they are or they aren't, they've taken the position of pro cryptocurrency. And with the approval rating of the Democratic president and the statistical odds and sentiment against the Democrats right now, boy, it sure feels like a terrible time to come out and crush a bunch of Americans right now financially. And it's the responsibility of everybody to make their own decision, right? If there is an executive order and they do come out and claim all altcoins are securities, that's going to devastate the altcoin market. It will absolutely crush it. We saw what happened with XRP when the SEC did it back in late 2020. XRP lost like 75-80% of its value in under 30 days when that happened. If the US government came out and did that for all altcoins, it would absolutely punish and devastate them. So it's for each person to make their own decision on what they think is going to happen. But for me personally, I'll tell you what my thoughts are on it. Doesn't mean they're right, but I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are on it. I think it's a very clickbaity title that has come out here where they're saying White House wants crypto rules as a matter of national security. The article that they reference to, the late stage draft of the executive order, details economic, regulatory, and national security challenges posed by cryptocurrencies. Tells me they chose the clickbaity, scary term while the cryptocurrency market is in extreme fear. I also see little to no engagement when they're posting things over here on Twitter. While even Bloomberg's source is anonymous and will not say their name, and we have no confirmation of this from the White House that they're even going to do it, well, we have a couple of sources saying they are. So you know what? I'm going to expect that it's possible that an executive order is going to be coming out sometime in February. I don't know if it's true or if it's not. It's based on anonymous sources, but based on what Bloomberg is saying, is that the executive order would call for reports from various agencies that are due in the second half of 2022. It makes no mention of any type of regulatory changes that would occur currently right now. And this article from Barron's does not dispute that statement. And that while we're in extreme fear, it appears like a fear tactic clickbait title has come out by a news agency I haven't heard of before that gets no likes on their posts happening here today. And this fear tactic happens to be coming after we've reached all the way down in here in this fractal that we've had over here on Bitcoin, dating all the way back to September of last year. So going on 4 months of this fractal playing out in here. As we're down here at the bottom, some fear tactics are starting to come into play. Up for each person to decide whether or not there's legitimacy to it. I have no way to predict what the White House is going to end up doing. All I can do is try to put the puzzle pieces together the best that I can in the way that I can interpret them. And a lot of times, if you don't know in this market, news agencies work together to shake us out. They have timed news that they release. I'm not accusing Barron's of doing that, but it does appear that wording was specifically chose as a matter of national security. When we can read the original statement to see that that was just one of the pieces in the economic models and all that stuff, right? And so while people are scared down here and uncertain, and these altcoins have been capitulating, of the two different articles that I've read from Barron's and from Bloomberg, I don't see anything indicating that this executive order would grant powers to any departments, but that the executive order would ask different departments to file reports to the White House sometime in the second half of 2022. And that's my best guess and my best interpretation of what we're seeing right now. So I saw a lot of fuss about that over there on Twitter yesterday, and I thought we would address it. I hope you guys enjoyed this type of content. I don't typically do a lot of news stuff, but this was one that I thought we needed to kind of talk about because let's be real, if they came out and claimed everything is a security or all altcoins are securities, we would see the altcoin market get completely crushed, right? I can't just not address that. But I showed you how I came to my conclusions on why I'm not sitting here worrying that that's going to be the thing that ends up coming out of this if an executive order does happen. But of course, we know what has happened when they come out and claim altcoin securities. So we saw that happen with XRP. It was devastating. While it was only temporary in regards to price destruction and it did recover, it was very painful at that time. If they came out and did that for all altcoins, we would probably expect the same thing. But it's up to each person to determine whether or not that seems likely that that's what's actually going on here. And based on the sources that I'm looking at and reading, and this source that's saying it's because of national security over here on Barron's, they're quoting Bloomberg. Bloomberg is saying it's not going to be something like that. It's going to be something where the executive order is asking for reports from specific departments to be provided to the White House at some point in 2022, particularly in the second half of 2022. So it's been addressed. That's my take on it. It's up to everybody to do their own research. And John, you said, I hope to be proven wrong. I love you, man. I'm hoping I am. I hope that you are wrong. That I believe most alts will be called securities, or I believe they will call most alt securities. I think there's a day where things could happen, but I just don't see that happening from this thing Eleanor Terret is quoting here. The Biden administration planning executive action to regulate cryptocurrencies is a matter of national security, and she as well is quoting Barron's, which was quoting Bloomberg, and it feels like it was picked and chosen for what the wording was. But I agree with you 99% of the time. I do think they're going to address stable coins at some point. I do believe they do threaten the banks and the bond market, and I'm right there on par with you for these two people, for Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren. And if you don't know who John Deaton is, he provides so much incredible information and help to the XRP community and to the cryptocurrency market as a whole. He is fighting the SEC, yes, on behalf of XRP holders, but really it's as a fight for the whole cryptocurrency market. He is trying to bring awareness at John E. Deaton 1 on Twitter, 22,000 messages by 6,700 U.S. residents received by all members of Congress. He has the Connect to Congress. He has helped people get in communication directly with their representatives to help bring awareness to the problems going on with the SEC regulating the cryptocurrency market in the manner that they're doing it, with enforcement actions and not providing clarity. So John is a valuable asset to the cryptocurrency community, and I am in no way posturing against John because he's an unbelievable helpful source for crypto in general. But John, I definitely want you to be proven wrong on this one. So, as we hang out down here for Bitcoin and the struggle continues with the altcoin market, I would not be surprised that during this time period, negative news happens, right? That's what happens right here. Up here, all the news to make everybody FOMO into the market. Down here, all the news to make everybody panicked and worried down here at the bottom of the market. Just understand, that's how news cycles work. That's what gets clicks. Whatever the sentiment of the market is, tends to get the clicks. So as we go through this time period, I'm keeping my eyes open for those things, and that's why I'm addressing them as they come out. I doubt I'll be able to address every single thing that does come out, but that was a pretty big one, right? So needed to tackle it. Otherwise, we're just waiting on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market to finish this up. Is it going to continue it? We're going on 4 months of following it perfectly. Hopefully that's our final flush. That's our final moment for Bitcoin and for the altcoin market. The timing of that lines up right there around January 31st through February 2nd or so, right? That's about where that shows. Will it follow time? Who knows? But as you can see, next week appears to be the time period where that's all occurring at. So we'll see what happens. Maybe have to be one of those moments where you close your eyes on those altcoins if they're flushing into that moment. But I'm holding on for dear life. That's my personal choice. I'm looking for the ride back up on a retrace. But on that note, we'll wait it out. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. And man, 30 minutes long on this video with mostly like a news video. It's not what I normally do over here on this channel. It's a lot of work for those news guys, man. I'll give them credit. You got to dig through it, think about it, formulate stuff. Pretty crazy. It's not going to be something normal on this channel. I do mostly stick to the charts, but had to address that one. But all right, guys, that'll wrap it up for this one. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you're looking for something to do throughout the weekend, you can check out my website, bcbacker.com. It's a course I put together where I deep dive into the previous Bitcoin bull runs, the previous altcoin market cycles. I tie them all together, showing you how this cryptocurrency market has worked in the past. Formulated a lot like my YouTube channel, me looking at charts, talking. It's not PowerPoint presentations, but structured a lot like my YouTube videos. I talk about my exit plans in there. I teach you how to set up your own charts and your own indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro. I talk a lot about mathematics and percentages and why those are so important to me. The most recent market update in there was back on December 31st, and you can check out all of this educational content over here on bcbacker.com. You can follow me over here on Twitter at bcbacker, and I want to thank you so much for watching my channel. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.